Hey, it's Future Ange here, and it is. Wait, am I Future Ange? Let me think about this. Maybe I'm past Ange because there's no past Ange riding a motorcycle. So I'm. I think I'm. No, I mean I'm present Ange when I say this to you, but as soon as I say it, I'm past Ange, and then Future Ange is going to edit this video. So yeah. So I'm past Ange. I'm present Ange, but as soon as I said that, I'm past Ange. So I'm past Ange. Right? Right? So right, if I'm past Ange, honestly, it didn't make much sense that future Ange was in a spaceship because he's not that future anyway. So let's get rid of that. And oh, look at my disgusting, look at the green screen, how gross it is. That's from a shoot I did in a cow field. Wonder how that smells. Anyway, since I'm past Ange, I don't need this. Okay, this is Ange, and let's get this wrap up started. Let me get Johny Pow on the line here real quick. Hold on one sec. Hey, Johny Pow, what's going on, man?
What's up, Ange?
All right, let's get this started. So give us a brief wrap up of the entire trip.
Well, I guess I'll leave it to you to talk about, your first solo part.
Okay.
But for me, it's almost a year. It's over a year, really, since the whole idea began.
Yeah.
The planning and looking at the Honda bikes, and you put a deposit down, and then I put a deposit down, and then actually I didn't even have to put a deposit. I just told the local dealer I wanted one, and then I got mine before you, and you were mad.
Yep.
And then then we did Hurricane Creek, and then we did the Smoky Mountain 500, and then we did all this gear buying. But the actual TAT trip, the excitement really started when you left your place in Asheville, and I was following your. You sent me the link of your Garmin InReach,
Yeah.
with the where I could. It was like every 15 minutes, and sometimes it would be longer than that, but I'd see the little arrow go along the route, and then kind of watching you go across, and I knew where you were going, and I was a couple of days there where it was fun tracking you and trying to predict how far you'd go each day, but that also factored into me figuring out what day I had to leave to meet you. That whole timing thing was critical. So that's the first half from my side was kind of witnessing it from the screen.
And the first thing you witnessed was me getting on the TAT headed the wrong way.
Yes, gloriously.
Unbelievable.
I saw it happen. I saw you and I could totally get why you did that, because at that particular, you went to Robbinsville, right?
Yeah, Robbinsville.
Yeah. Because a lot of that TAT section through there, you're lucky living in Asheville with all that great riding right in your backyard.
Yeah.
But a lot of those roads are either very similar and close to or exactly the same as some of the Smoky Mountain 500. So I know that you decided to just go as west wherever it seemed to make the most sense before getting on the TAT, so that you could save some roads for later, or either you've already ridden them and just kind of get started. But that particular place where you got on the trail, I could see it making sense the direction you went, which was actually west.
Right.
But you joined in a little place where it was a little funky curve, and I watched you for an hour go the wrong direction.
Probably laughing.
Yeah. Well, I was like, should I text him and tell him he's going the wrong way? But at that point, I didn't want to really interfere too much. I wanted you to kind of have your own, autonomous adventure.
Right.
So I just waited. And then eventually the little arrow stopped, and it sat there for 10 minutes, and then it went back the other way, and I was laughing.
I could not believe that. Such a funny start to the trip. Just first thing. Hilarious. but yeah, and then the solo stuff, I mean, I guess I told you that Smoky Mountain is really the first buddy ride I've ever done in my life. Like I've ridden motorcycles since I was 16, but it's always been a solo endeavor for me. And that was really fun doing it with a friend, but I love the solo stuff too. So it was great. The way this worked out was great for me because I got all that solo time all the way to Trinidad. And then, so I got the best of both worlds, which was great.
Right. Yeah, I'm kind of the opposite. I've ridden, I mean, I ride around here solo, but anytime I've ever gone up to the North Carolina mountains or any kind of like, I mean, I've always gone with friends and we've done like bike rallies or, you know, AMA vintage days, like bike events. We go to racetracks and, you know, camping with a bunch of people and all that. And all of the rides I did, you know, up there in your area specifically, was at least 3 people, you know. So I'm kind of used to that, but I get it, man. And I know you had a craving to kind of get out there and, you know, be in your own brain for a while.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you certainly shared some of the results of that with your audience.
I did. Maybe not the best idea, but that's how it turned out. So it's pretty funny. Yeah, on the solo stuff, obviously the standout moments were, you know, first of all, just some epic views and some epic roads that were amazing. And then obviously the tire day was unforgettable. And you know, meeting Bret, he came out and rescued me, all that stuff. And Matt was out there and Joanne, and just that whole thing was crazy. And, you know, those are stories I'll have forever.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Once you accepted my offer to help assist, you know, in your travels.
Yeah.
And I became, I mean, it was like mission control. I had one screen with your like GPS going on your tracker, and I had another screen with the TAT map. And then I've got Google Maps, and I'm trying to find, you know, trying to advise you on like maybe you should go this number of miles and go to this destination. Yeah, it was like I kind of had that side of the adventure of the first part for me, and you know, I like that stuff.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah, you like all the logistic stuff, but what I was wondering when I was having all those problems finding places, were you like, I wonder why he's having. Because I can imagine people are like, what's the big deal? You just Google a place and you go to it, right? But it's just, I don't know if you found when you actually got on the trail, it's just not like that, really. You know, it's a little more complicated than just Googling for the nearest campground or motel.
well, the two sides of that are this. Number one, there were more people out, and these places were more filled up and busier than expected. You know, like I would think that, or I would have thought, yeah, just go to a campground and there's a place to stay.
Right.
You know, there's open sites, but they were all booked up. But the second half of it is because of the particular bikes that we were on, that limited how far we could go to find lodging because we didn't want to go backwards. We didn't want to go, you know, 25 miles up another highway to find a place because that would have taken forever. And also, I mean, the fact that we couldn't really reasonably get on an interstate and go anywhere, that really shortened the list of potential places.
Yeah, because 25 miles sounds like 25 miles, but on those bikes, it's a whole different, it's a whole different deal.
Yeah, it's 2 hours round trip.
Yeah. Yeah, crazy.
And then I did leave. And everybody, well, you may have missed it. I don't know, episode 10 or something, but when I left for my part of the trip, I had everything packed up. I had my gear packed up. I had something, bike was already shipped. It was in a warehouse in New Mexico. And I took off on the airplane. And right before I fell asleep, 5 a.m. or whatever, I realized I left the key at home to the bike. And I didn't have an extra one hidden on the bike or anything. So that was a whole fiasco. So that my started off I mean, I was a little bit irritated with myself, so I kind of had a bad first day. But the next day was good, and that whole day about, you went to Topar and you got your um, luggage rack re-welded, and then I went up to Colorado, and man, the weather was perfect. But that whole day, man, that was so thrilling. And believe it or not, people, we pulled into the hotel 30 seconds apart.
Yeah, it was crazy. And we used this spreadsheet, which I found super helpful. I don't know if you did or not. Even it was good for trying to figure out our meeting point and the date when that was going to happen. But it was also great for me to like pre-plan what I thought the mileage I was going to do. And I'll share this spreadsheet. I think I can share it somehow so you guys can mess with it. But you enter in like your miles per hour that you think you're going to average and the mileage you think you're going to average. And it's got every section of the TAT in it. And it'll tell you put in your leave date and it'll tell you when it thinks you're going to get to whatever section.
So
it's kind of cool.
It was a really cool spreadsheet, but it also kind of screwed me up because originally, we thought it was going to take you so many days to get to Trinidad.
Yeah.
So I booked an airplane ticket to get to Trinidad, at that time. But then you started hauling ass, and your spreadsheet, the days kept like going up until I was like, I had to tell work, I'm like, I think I need to leave a week early, and they were fine with it. Maybe because of the spreadsheet, that's how it worked out that we timed it so well.
Yeah. I don't know, but because it ended up being like what 5-6 days earlier than we thought,
at least.
Yeah, and I guess that brings us to, what do you think? Do you think we had the right pace, or do you think we were going too hard and too fast, or what?
We did push pretty hard, and part of that was kind of my doing or my fault, because I didn't have as much free time as you, being self-employed or business owner, had. I told my work I was going to be gone for 2 weeks, and it was really 18 days. I sort of stretched it at the end.
Right.
But I needed to be back pretty soon. So, and also I wanted to make it the whole way. So that's kind of why we did, those like 260-mile days and everything.
Yeah.
But, if I do it again, when I do it again, I don't know if I would necessarily do it slower or less miles, but I would see more things. Right. I would do, we would do White Rim Trail. Or White Rim Road rather. We would do another couple passes. We would hang around Moab. We'd go see Crater Lake.
Right.
We'd sort of just take it in more. We kind of blew through it a lot. But also that's not bad, because, we were on, a mission to complete the whole thing, and we got it done. So I'm no regrets.
Yeah.
But
and us blowing through is basically you're smelling the roses the whole time on those bikes,
we blowing through is relative.
Yeah.
I think you probably said this before, but I think we averaged 25 miles an hour.
Yeah, on the whole trip.
And so when when where were we? We were outside of Green River, and the guys on the KTM's blew past us.
Yeah.
They were going pretty quick. We thought we were going quick, but Honda Trail 125 is still slow.
Yeah.
Speaking of White Rim Road, that's another thing that I didn't actually know. I think you knew more about that than I did.
I've been on Schaefer Trail and in that area, so I knew there was cool stuff out there.
So you were talking about that. You're like, I think we should do this. And there was the issue of we were worried about safety. We were worried about time. We were worried about difficulty. I don't know.
Honestly, what swung me was, it was like we were having all these, back and forth, and the heat was enough for me to just be like, let's move on, because it was 105, 110, and it was like in those black stupid outfits. Yeah. It was brutal, man. It was very hot.
Along those same thoughts, we made a decision to deviate from the Transamerica Trail actual route, and that was my idea. Kind of about Angelo was pretty determined to do the whole thing, to do the actual Sam route from his house all the way to Port Orford exactly. But once we kind of got into it and into the heat and into kind of reality, Ange's opinion on that kind of mellowed a little bit, and he was open to route changes. And I had already researched the Utah BDR backcountry discovery route, and I knew that it intersected right there outside of between Green River and Castledale, Utah, and we made a decision to get off the TAT, go get the drone in Provo, and then hit the Utah BDR and take that up and kind of get back into the mountains, get back into the cooler weather. And that was some awesome riding. I rewatched that episode last night, and I mean, we were excited about it. We were talking about how awesome it was.
Yeah, that was a great section.
And also, Steve had the great idea, or we took his idea of taking that upper TAT route instead of the lower to Boise, right. And I think that was the right call too.
Yeah, I think
even though we went to the Craters of the Moon hellscape and wrecked,
right,
and all that, it was still worth it.
It was. That was killer, and that just reminds me too, like when you were talking about the Utah BDR. I don't know what happens, but before you're doing a trip and you're thinking about it and you're looking at the route on Gaia or whatever, and you're imagining what it's going to be like, what I was imagining for that section is not at all what it was.
Oh, I know. And I think I've determined that the Utah BDR has two totally different styles. The southern part that we did not do looks tough.
Yeah.
It looks like more Moab-y kind of, like red rocks and sand and like a rugged kind of white rim kind of ride. And then, where we got on it, it was a lot of paved roads, which were also really fun. But the off-road sections or the gravel road and dirt sections were exactly the same difficulties the rest of the TAT, which was to say that not difficult at all.
I mean, just overall, holy crap, man, what an amazing thing to do. I'm so glad that we did it. It was incredible.
Yep. Also, I want to say a big, big, big thank you to you, Angelo, for spending so much time making these videos. I really, really enjoy them. And I know it was a hell of a lot of work, and all the hours of editing and it's just very appreciated that you did that, and you gave it your own style too.
Yeah, I mean, I really enjoyed it. I can't lie. It did take hundreds and hundreds of hours, but I'm glad to have this. I'm glad we did the filming and did that whole thing, because it really. A lot of the filming was a hassle, like the drone problems and all that stuff, but it definitely didn't really get in the way of anything.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we let it, because we didn't, a lot of times we just didn't, we used the helmet cam because that was easy. We didn't do a ton of like setups and drive-bys and stuff like that because we were out there to ride, but I think the video still came out pretty good.
Yeah. And so, a lot of people, I think, they do tripods or real time consuming setups, but we kind of figured out once we got kind of into Oregon, I guess, that if we just leapfrog each other,
yeah.
and then you just take the helmet cam off and hold it.
Right.
So a lot of the like clips on the, no, it's in Idaho. The clip when we're going into Boise and we got the funky jazz music playing.
Yeah.
That day we had a lot of fun just, setting up and like doing real quick, experimental camera setups. That was cool.
Yeah, and those were easy. It was easy for us to do, so it was no big deal.
It helps to have cool scenery.
Yeah, it definitely does. It definitely does. I mean, just like the videos, even the Smoky Mountain videos, which are, that there's some epic scenery in those, but it's
Totally.
not like out west at all. It's just a whole different, so big out there.
One thing about this video series that I don't know if it changed naturally or what, but when your videos first started going up, and maybe even before the TAT started, there was a couple of comments about them being long, or even you thought they were long.
Yeah.
And in this time, with TikTok and Instagram stories and everything's fast, fast, fast. I like the longer videos, and once we kind of got to those real epic scenic, Western states, they just depend on if anything cool happened that day, but it's a little different, that your videos are I love the hour and 45 minutes and the 2 hour long. I mean, maybe it's because I was there, so I have sentimental reasons for liking it, but
Yeah.
it's different.
Yeah. Well, I think all the people that, made those comments, they sort of dropped off,
Right.
and the people who like them have stuck around, so it's just, yeah, it's definitely a different thing. And probably as far as YouTube strategy, not a good strategy if that's what
Yeah.
you cared about, but we don't, we wanted to do our own thing. And yeah,
Including the unfiltered language.
yeah, the unfiltered language. Well, that started on the Smoky Mountain videos. And I was like surprised by two things. Number one, surprised that when I'm talking to myself, that's how I speak to myself. It's like, it's not really how, well, maybe it is how I talk normally. I don't know. But that was surprising. But then what was more surprising is how many people were like, I love the video, but I can't stand the language, and I'm not watching these. That's pretty surprising.
Well, clearly some people, it didn't bother them.
Yeah.
And, thank you to everybody, by the way, for watching these videos. And, we love reading the comments. We love when you guys poke fun at us as well. It's all good. So speaking of video making, whatever ended up with the drone?
The drone, it was like a 3-month battle with DJI. Their customer service is probably the worst in the land. I did finally get a replacement drone. That one where did I buy that one in?
You bought one in Orem, outside of Provo,
yeah,
in Utah, and then you bought another one, right? You bought two?
No, I think that was it. I bought that one.
You bought a media mod in Boise.
Yeah, media mod in Boise.
Okay.
So the one I bought in Orem, we got 3 good shots out of that, and then had that same gimbal problem. And, I just gave up at that point and, whatever, just packed it away for the rest of the trip. And I was able to take that one back and get a refund. And then DJI finally sent me a replacement for the first one that I'd sent back. But
yeah, that was a hassle to have to deal with, and it's kind of a shame that we didn't get more epic drone shots. But we also just had to ride, and that's one thing. One thing about being on the Transamerica Trail, particularly on these little bikes, is you just can't. Some things, you just have to deal with situations like, getting it took days to figure out how to get our tires in Utah.
Yeah.
You can't just go drive 10 minutes to Best Buy everywhere. You have to plan ahead, and sometimes things, like the gimbal broke so we had no drone.
Yeah, the like having things shipped to yourself on the trail is really difficult too, because I was trying to get a sprocket, I was trying to get tires and tubes, and then when I was trying to get DJI to send me the drone, it was like so hard to figure out, okay, it's going to take 2 days to get there. Where will I be? You just don't have any idea. It's difficult. What I did learn though, is that I kind of knew this, but I didn't really know how it worked. But you can have anything sent to any post office, just about any post office, and mark it general delivery or something. Don't trust me on this. Look it up before you do it. But that way, there's a post office even in the tiniest little town, and we could have had stuff shipped to a post office and down enough where we know it wouldn't be there till we got there.
We did use your little, I don't know if it was tripod or selfie stick. We used that a couple times to get a few shots. But I don't ever remember, except for when we did the scene where we met each other in Trinidad and we drove slow motion across. You did a tripod for that, but I don't even remember you setting up the tripod ever again.
We almost never did, and I thought we were going to use it for like wrap ups at the end of the night, like we did for the Smoky Mountain.
Yeah.
But for some reason, at the end of the night, man, we were toast.
Yeah. Oh, that's another thing that maybe, in retrospect, maybe filming more of things we saw, more off bike stuff, like hanging out or a little bit of the towns we were in. Or, not just the riding.
Right. And it is too bad about the drone, because by the time I had hit like Mississippi, I had kind of gotten into a groove with that where like, okay, it's 9 o'clock in the morning. That's drone time. So I would just pull it out, fly it, get 3 different shots right there in that spot, and then try to do the same thing around 3 or 4 when the sun was good again. And that's plenty for a day,
Yeah. I don't have my GoPro, but the other thing that we learned is that since we both had the same chin mount and the same camera, our shots were basically identical.
Right.
So we, I was trying to get like B-roll footage, alternate views, but we ended up not using, or you ended up not using many of them because they were the same.
Right.
So, one thing I would change maybe on that would be maybe go back to having a slightly different helmet setup so that the view is different, or just waiting and having like a whole other purpose for that second camera.
Right. Yeah. Maybe more mounts or whatever.
Right.
But I used I would scrub through and find all of your
different
off the bike stuff or anything that was different. Yeah. Cause that added a lot. That was good. But yeah, I think even since we've been home though, I'm still not good at the mounts and the drone. Like I've got the drone again. I always bring it out on rides, and it's so hard to get myself to actually pull it out and use it. And I've got to sort that out somehow. Same with mounts. I never do it.
Yeah.
But something to work on. Another one of the epic parts of the trip were the passes. You want to explain that a little bit? I mean, we talked about it in the video, but.
So, in preparation for doing this, like you guys have watched our videos and you probably watched the Kiwi Groms and all of Ed March and everything. We watched all those too, but we've neither one of us have been motorcycling in Colorado. And so the idea of the Alpine Passes was new to us. We just remembered Ed March going over Engineer and Kiwi Groms going over Cinnamon Pass and all that. So we knew that on the Sam route that we were going to do Cinnamon and we were going to do Ophir. Cinnamon and Ophir. But a little bit of research, the little bit we did, we learned that Engineer was going to be an option, and that it was supposed to be, a little bit more thrilling or exciting or whatever. But that's kind of all we knew. We were, and I guess Angela had looked up Black Bear Pass or whatever.
Yeah.
But we didn't know about all of them. We didn't know about, Poughkeepsie Gulch and, all these other ones that are around there. And including the menacing, California Pass. But I was really stoked to get there, and lucky for me, that was like my third day on the trip. So I just jumped, by starting in New Mexico, just jumped straight into, the high altitude stuff in Colorado. Oh, and then we met Steve
Yeah.
on our way to La Vida, and super cool dude. Loved hanging out with him for a couple days, and friends for life now. But Steve tagged along with us, and he and I teamed up on Angelo and convinced him to do Engineer Pass, which was fine. Engineer was fun. It was fun. Very busy.
It was fun.
Went up Engineer. It was fun. It was snowy up top. That was crazy. It was 4th of July or something. And, it was like freezing cold. Well, not freezing, but very cold and still, a foot of snow up there. But our little Hondas wouldn't go up, wouldn't make it up. We had to push a couple times up that.
Yeah.
Big thank you though to Steve for sticking with us and helping us through that.
Yeah, he didn't have to do that. He had that bike that was just growling right up that stuff, and he hung out and made sure we could make it up there. Yeah, and then the part of that whole passes thing was the luggage thing, where we gave our luggage to the guy in the blue truck. Did we decide his name was Kevin? I think. I can't believe we didn't get his info.
I know.
It was so hectic and weird. But anyway, we gave him our luggage to take up because we thought that would lighten up the bikes enough that they would go, which didn't turn out to be the case. But anyway, we finally got to the top of California Pass and there was no luggage. And we're like, we didn't think he took it because he was just cool. We knew it wasn't him. But some other people in 4x4s had gone up after that. And we're like, maybe they saw it and thought, somebody lost this and left it here and we'll take it, or maybe they just wanted some new luggage and stuff or whatever. We had no idea, but that was the lowest point for me of the whole trip, and it did, none of it mattered other than the footage that was in the luggage. It was like my whole first 15 days or whatever it was would have been lost.
I mean, we got so lucky that we didn't lose all of that stuff.
Yeah.
But yes, and then the second couple, Devin and Daniel, showed us the way and brought us to where the luggage was. That could have been really bad.
Yeah, and if we had kept on the TAT on a corkscrew or whatever that was, and stopped following them, there's no way we would have ever found that stuff. It's incredible. It's like the statistically impossible best piece of luck we could have had. It was amazing.
How many times did we run into Steve?
Yeah, Steve became the Kramer of the trip, where all of a sudden he'd burst through the door and slide across the floor. It just seemed like in the oddest places. Like we were in the middle of that desert that one time, just in the middle of nowhere, and we hear something, and there's Steve.
Yeah,
or he shows up at the hotel room door in some random place. It was funny.
Yeah, one encounter with him, though, I'm glad that we were behind him instead of in front of him at that point, because we came up on him changing a rear tire. And his inflation device, or we call it tire pump, little electric tire pump, had fried out. So he was, I don't even know if he had any backup method to inflate that tire.
Yeah.
Or the tube that he was trying to put in, but.
Yeah, and he had because I had all my tire problems. So when we first met him or whatever, we talked about that, and he's like, "Man, I haven't had a flat tire in 15 years of riding." He shouldn't have said that, man. He just shouldn't have said it.
I think he might have made it to Port Orford before us, but and then we went different directions after that. But so we saw him at our shipping place the morning that we went home, and then at the airport went and had breakfast.
Was glad to meet him. And like you said, I mean, we have text threads going about future trips and motorcycle stuff, and it's cool. It's very cool.
That's the ride was fun, but making a friend and meeting people, and the people. The Transamerica Trail was just awesome.
Yeah. It was great. Same with, those guys, Bret and Matt, I'm still in touch with them. Those guys who found my little selfie stick and went through the trouble and rode for weeks with it and then sent it back to me. It's just it's crazy. Johny Pow, CT 125, first of all, let's talk about the decision to take them, and then let's talk about the decision to take them. I mean, I think I'm trying to remember now. Did we decide, was it the TAT first or was it the CT 125 first?
It was all your idea. Both. It was the TAT first.
It was the TAT first.
Yep. But
Right.
like hours and the next day, then you started talking about the Honda CT 125.
Right. Yeah, because I came across the Ed March videos and was just totally hooked on that.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think I saw that the CT 125 came out, and of course Ed on his little C90. I was like, that would be fun.
Yeah. And then you started polluting my brain with all this persuasion. And, I guess my first thought was I would get that DR650 that was in the back of my shed running and use it. That is what, I didn't grow up riding motocross or anything like that. My off-roading started when I got that DR60. When I got my Honda Trials bike. But the only kind of like adventure riding, we just call it dual sport riding, was on that DR.
Right.
And we would do, weekend trips, overnight trips up in, North Carolina mountains. But then when you started talking about the Honda, it didn't hurt that they would be brand new. They were very reliable, a good choice other than the small capacity and the diminutive size,
Yeah. Yeah. And we did go through, because this wasn't in the video. Yeah. None of the prep stuff, I don't think, was in the videos, right? It's all in the ride report. Because first of all, we put money down on these bikes and we got them. And then we got on them and we're like, I don't know, man. I don't know. Because, at first we took them on the pavement. And then I think I went on a big, like 90-mile dirt tryout on it. And I remember texting you like, dude, it's awesome,
Yeah.
And then we were sort of back on taking those, but we went back and forth a lot. And then we were like, then we were going to take the Himalayans, and we both put money down on those. And there were a bunch of other bikes, the XT 250.
Yeah.
What else?
What was the other one you looked at? Van,
the Rally 250.
We looked at the Janus Griffin. I looked at one of those.
Yeah.
That would have been cool.
That would have been cool. I have a feeling
expensive.
that looked like it might have shaken apart pretty easily.
Right.
Does look cool though.
Yeah, but then we both got Royal Enfields and the Himalayans, and that the truth is all of these bikes will do it. It doesn't, the decision about what bike to take, it's a personal one. I would have had no problem doing the ride on the Himalayans. Pretty much any, you probably don't want to take a Harley Road King.
Right.
But, any of those bikes would have been fine.
Yeah.
The only thing about the Honda, probably the worst choice of all the ones we considered was the one we took.
Yeah.
Just because of, it was so doggone slow, up hills, trying to get over mountains. We really should have done the gear changing. I knew we should have done that. I should have just bought those sprockets and put them in my bag. And so that's the advice I would give. If you're going to do Alpine Passes on the Honda CT 125, do a sprocket change at Lake City before you go up Engineer Pass.
Yeah. Yeah. And see, you're smarter about that stuff than I am, because I was like, even with the tires, I'm like, oh, I can do the whole thing on the stock tires, and we don't need sprockets. Come on, it'll be fine. Because I just don't know. I just don't know. But yeah, we definitely needed some help getting over those hills for sure.
Hey, and I've been seeing some guys posting on the group that, there's the 146cc kit or whatever, but there's apparently there's a 180cc kit.
Right.
So maybe even if you have one of those, you might not need the gearing change.
Yeah. And I also learned that Ed March had a 150 Lifen engine in that
Ah,
one of those Chinese engines.
in his 90.
Yeah, in his 90. But overall, but yeah, for a second we were taking the Himalayans and we said forget about and then we kept changing our mind. Then we did the Smoky Mountain 500 and we're like, we had a blast other than the
fun.
getting there and getting back. And they were so fun and so easy and so light and felt so safe-ish, like in the dangerous stuff.
Right. I mean,
And
you're low to
so-
the ground.
Yeah. Yeah.
If any viewers haven't seen those, I highly recommend watching Smoky Mountain 500. It's just 3 videos. It was kind of Angelo and I's first ride together. It's the first adventure ride, and it's excellent. It's got a slightly different style from the TAT videos. The TAT videos have a lot more dialogue and kind of a lot more helmet cam, but there's just amazing shots and drone work, and the music is awesome. Smoky Mountain 500 videos those are my favorite.
Yeah, and that was our full-on shakedown, all our camping gear, all our packing stuff, and that was the shakedown for the TAT. And we didn't really change much between the two. But I would say overall, the CT 125 is a freaking beautiful beast. I mean, yes, it sucks at times really bad, but what a bike, man. Just amazing.
2 words: scooter cannonball.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I still don't know. It sounds so miserable, but I do have it blocked in my calendar.
Right on.
I'll say that. So we kept going with the Q&A, but I'm going to post that in a different video. Also wanted to let you know that even though I have 0 graphic design skills, I have still gone on a mad dash of ridiculous t-shirt designs. So if you like this series and you want to show some appreciation for the channel and you'd like a goofy t-shirt, go check out the store. Links in the description.